Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Imagine standing in a crowded room and knowing, with calm certainty, that when you speak, people lean in. They listen not because you demanded their attention, but because what you say resonates with something inside them, a shared truth, a quiet hope, a fear they had not named. That ability to move another person, to change a mind, to open a heart, is not magic. It's a craft. It's an art. It's the art of persuasion. Persuasion is older than speech itself. It began the moment one person convinced another to follow a path, share a meal, or protect a child. Over time, it has woven its way into every aspect of human life, in relationships, business, politics, science, and art. Yet too often we reduce persuasion to trickery, to manipulation, to the smooth talk of someone with an agenda. That's an incomplete story. True persuasion is a bridge. It is the deliberate ethical act of helping someone move from where they stand now toward a better place, better informed, better understood, better prepared to choose. Persuasion at its best honors the other person's dignity. It listens before it speaks. In this series, we will explore persuasion as both technique and temperament. We will examine the psychological principles that anchor influence. We will study the language patterns and structures that make messages memorable. We will practice the small, human habits that build trust. And we will always return to one simple test. Does this persuade for the good, or does it persuade at the expense of another? This first part will set the foundation. We'll define persuasion clearly, dispel a few myths, and introduce the 5 pillars that will shape the rest of our journey. Think of this as the map before the climb, an honest, unhurried guide that prepares you to ascend. So what exactly is persuasion? At its core, persuasion is the art of guiding others toward choices they would willingly make, after they have seen what you see. It is different from coercion, which forces a decision. It is different from manipulation, which hides intent. Persuasion asks for permission. It invites curiosity, offers reasons, and leaves space for the listener's own judgment. Now let's clear away 3 common myths. Myth 1. Persuasion is only for salespeople and politicians. False. Persuasion is the currency of everyday life. You use it when you ask a colleague for help, when you convince your child to finish homework, when you invite a friend to risk vulnerability. To be persuasive is to be effective, to live with intention and clarity. Myth 2. Persuasive people are born, not made. Partially true and mostly false. Some are naturally charismatic. Most of us can learn the craft. Persuasion relies on patterns, how you frame ideas, how you structure evidence, how you connect emotionally. These are learnable muscles. With practice, anyone can strengthen them. Myth 3. Persuasion requires deception. This is the most dangerous misconception. Persuasion done well requires honesty, respect, and care for the other person's autonomy. Without those, you have manipulation, which erodes trust and corrodes relationships over time. With those myths set aside, let me introduce the 5 pillars we'll explore across the next parts of this series, the pillars that turn raw words into lasting influence. 1. Credibility. Who are you, and why should anyone listen? Credibility is built by competence, consistency, and character. People weigh your history as heavily as your arguments. 2. Connection. People move for people. Connection is the emotional bridge. Empathy, storytelling, shared identity. Without it, facts fall flat. 3. Clarity. A muddled message persuades no one. Clarity is simple structure, crisp language, and memorable images. 4. Evidence. Claims need support. Evidence is the balance of data, testimony, an example that makes your case believable. 5. Call to better action. Persuasion seeks movement. The final pillar is the gentle, concrete invitation to act, an action that respects choice and makes the next step obvious. In the next parts, we will dig into each pillar. We will practice real techniques, how to open a conversation so people stay with you, how to craft stories that land, how to marshal evidence without drowning your listener, and how to design calls to action that feel honest and urgent. Before we close this first chapter, I want you to take a moment and notice how persuasion already shows up in your life. Think of a recent moment when someone changed your mind. What did they do? Or recall a time you persuaded someone else. What worked? Keep those examples in mind. We'll return to them as living laboratories for practice. Part 1. The first pillar, credibility. Before any argument is heard, before any message is weighed, before any story has the chance to touch the heart, there is one silent question sitting inside every listener's mind. Can I trust you? Credibility is persuasion's foundation. Without it, even the most beautiful language collapses. With it, even simple words gain surprising strength. Credibility is not built in a single moment. It is constructed slowly through presence, consistency, and authenticity. And in a world overflowing with noise, people are not only listening to what you say, they are listening to who you are while you say it. Today, let's walk slowly through the anatomy of credibility and explore how you can build, sustain, and protect it. 1. Competence. Showing you know your craft. Competence is not about knowing everything. It is about knowing enough to speak responsibly, to guide accurately, and to offer clarity where confusion once lived. People do not expect perfection. They expect preparation. When a speaker demonstrates competence, their audience relaxes. A calm confidence fills the space. The message no longer feels like guesswork, it feels like guidance. And guidance, when delivered with humility, becomes deeply persuasive. You build competence by studying your subject, practicing your explanations, and understanding the limits of your knowledge. Ironically, credibility increases not only when you present what you know, but also when you openly admit what you do not know. Honesty, even about uncertainty, strengthens trust. 2. Consistency, aligning your actions and your words. Consistency is the quiet heartbeat of credibility. It is formed not in dramatic moments, but in small patterns, the way you show up, follow through, keep promises, and treat others. Every interaction writes a line in the story of who you are. When your words and actions align, people feel safe with you. They sense that your future behavior will resemble your past behavior, and that reliability becomes a powerful persuasive force. You no longer need to convince them of your integrity. Your history speaks louder than your claims. But when your words and actions contradict each other, even once, trust drains quickly. A single fracture can take months, even years, to repair. This is why persuasion is not merely a technique, it is a lifestyle. To influence ethically, you must live the values you claim to uphold. 3. Character, the moral center of persuasion. Competence tells people you can succeed. Consistency tells people you will show up. But character tells people why you do what you do, and whether your intentions deserve their trust. Character is the invisible element that gives weight to your voice. It is formed by integrity, empathy, and a genuine desire to serve rather than dominate. When listeners sense good character, they lower their defenses. They open themselves to your message. They allow your ideas to enter the deeper, quieter parts of their decision-making. To strengthen character, cultivate self-awareness. Ask yourself, why am I trying to persuade this person? Who will benefit from this? Am I willing to be honest, even if honesty reduces my chances of getting what I want? These questions act as a compass. They keep your influence aligned with integrity, and integrity radiates through every word you speak. 4. The power of vulnerability. Surprisingly, credibility grows not only through strength, but also through vulnerability. When you admit your struggles, your mistakes, or the lessons you learned the hard way, people see your humanity. And humanity builds connection. This does not mean oversharing or dramatizing your past. It means showing that your wisdom did not appear out of thin air. It was earned. Vulnerability signals honesty, and honesty deepens trust. When a leader says, "I once failed at this, and here is what it taught me," the audience does not lose respect. On the contrary, respect increases because the leader is no longer a distant figure, but a relatable one. 5. Repairing credibility when it breaks. Even the most trustworthy person will one day make a mistake, miss a deadline, break a promise, make a poor decision, or speak without thinking. Credibility does not demand perfection. It demands responsibility. When trust cracks, repair it by acting quickly and clearly. 1. Acknowledge the mistake without excuses. 2. Apologize sincerely, addressing those affected. 3. Explain what will change to prevent repetition. 4. Follow through consistently, quietly, relentlessly. People forgive mistakes more easily than they forgive defensiveness. A humble correction can preserve years of trust. 6. The credibility loop. Credibility is not static. It is a living loop. Every time you speak truthfully, show kindness, deliver value, or honor a commitment, the loop tightens. People not only trust your message, they anticipate that your future messages will be worth hearing. This loop becomes a powerful persuasive force. Over time, you no longer need to convince people with long explanations. Your presence itself becomes persuasive. Your reputation walks into the room before you do. 7. The presence factor. Finally, credibility is expressed through presence, the calm, grounded energy you bring to a conversation. People feel it before they understand it. A persuasive communicator is centered, patient, and unhurried. They listen deeply and speak intentionally. Presence communicates competence without arrogance, confidence without aggression, and authority without domination. Presence is credibility in motion. Part 2, the second pillar, connection. Before people believe your message, they must feel that you understand them. Connection is the heartbeat of persuasion, the invisible bridge between one human soul and another. Without connection, logic feels cold. Facts fall flat. Arguments lose their grip. But with connection, even simple words can soften fear, ease resistance, and open the mind to new possibilities. Today, let's explore how genuine human connection becomes the emotional foundation of influence. 1. Connection begins with attention. We live in a world starving for attention, real, undivided, generous attention. When you give someone your full presence without rushing, without checking your phone, without preparing your rebuttal while they speak, you give them something rare and precious, the feeling of being seen. To persuade, you must first witness the person in front of you. Listen not only to words, but to tone, pauses, and hesitations. Listen to what is said and what is avoided. Listen with curiosity, not judgment. Connection begins when people feel safe enough to reveal the truth of their experience. 2. The power of empathy. Empathy is the ability to step into another person's inner world, not to fix them, not to agree with them, but to understand them. When people feel understood, they open the doors of their mind willingly. This is why persuasion built on empathy cannot be forced. It arises naturally from human respect. To practice empathy, ask yourself, what fear might this person be carrying? What desire is shaping their choices? What past experience might be influencing their reaction? Empathy is not weakness. Empathy is precision. It tells you which emotional doorway is open and which is closed. 3. Mirroring, creating subtle emotional safety. Mirroring is the gentle art of matching someone's emotional rhythm, their pace, tone, energy, and even posture. Humans instinctively trust those who feel familiar. When you mirror skillfully, without faking or copying, you create a sense of harmony. If someone speaks slowly, slow down. If they speak softly, lower your voice. If they are energized, bring a shade more energy forward. Mirroring shows, I am here with you. I am tuned to your frequency. And when frequencies align, persuasion flows more smoothly. 4. Storytelling, the emotional engine of influence. Facts inform the mind. Stories transform the heart. Stories bypass resistance. They speak in images, emotions, and memory. They allow the listener to experience your message, not just understand it. A well-chosen story can shift a belief faster than any argument. To build connection through storytelling, follow 3 principles. Start with a relatable moment. A struggle, a fear, a small human victory. When your audience recognizes themselves in your story, they lean in. Reveal a turning point. Show the moment of awareness, the lesson learned, or the challenge confronted. Land the insight gently. Do not preach. Let the listener discover the meaning for themselves. Stories connect because they echo the hidden shapes of our own journeys. 5. Shared values, the anchor of trust. People connect most strongly with those who share their values, not necessarily their opinions, but their fundamental principles. Fairness, family, growth, honesty, courage, compassion. When you highlight shared values, you create emotional alignment. Say things like you, I care about. We both want. I think we agree on something important. These statements lower defenses and shift the conversation from me versus you to us together. Shared values create a safe emotional territory where persuasion becomes a collaboration rather than a conflict. 6. Emotional honesty, speaking from the heart. Logic convinces the mind. Emotion moves the will. People do not respond to perfection. They respond to sincerity. When you speak with emotional honesty, calm, grounded, without exaggeration, listeners feel your message rather than analyze it. Tell them how an experience affected you. Share what you used to believe and how you changed. Express what matters to you and why. Authenticity does not need decoration. It needs clarity, humility, and warmth. 7. Asking better questions. A persuasive communicator does not bombard people with statements. They guide with questions, gentle, open, reflective questions that invite people into the conversation. Questions like, what matters most to you about this? What would make this feel easier? What outcome would truly satisfy you? Good questions create emotional ownership. When people articulate their own reasons, those reasons become stronger than any external push. 8. The gift of validation. Validation does not mean agreement. It means acknowledging the emotional reality of the other person. Phrases like, I can see why you'd feel that way. That must have been difficult. Your concern makes sense. These simple sentences soften the emotional armor people wear. They communicate respect. They prepare the heart to receive new ideas. Before a person can move toward your perspective, they need to feel that their current perspective is not being dismissed. 9. Building connection through presence. Finally, persuasion thrives in the energy you carry. A calm presence creates trust. A grounded presence creates safety. A compassionate presence creates openness. Presence is not about speaking more. It is about being more patient, more aware, more intentional. When people feel your presence, they instinctively trust your guidance. Part 3, the third pillar, clarity. Clarity is the force that cuts through noise. It is the light that allows your listener to see your message without distortion. In persuasion, clarity is not something nice to have. It is essential. Because people do not follow what they do not understand. You may have the best intentions, the strongest evidence, and the deepest connection. But if your message is tangled, vague, or overly complex, it loses power instantly. Today, we will explore how clarity elevates your influence and how you can shape your words so they land with precision and purpose. 1. Clarity begins in your own mind. Before you persuade anyone else, you must persuade yourself clearly. If your thinking is foggy, your message will be foggy. If your intention is uncertain, your listener will feel that uncertainty. So ask yourself, what exactly am I trying to say? Why does it matter? What is the single most important point I want them to remember? When you can answer these questions in one simple sentence, you are ready to speak. Clarity is born in silence, in the quiet moment where you refine your thoughts before releasing them into the world. 2. Simplify. But do not oversimplify. People often confuse simplicity with childishness. But simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is elegance. It is the ability to express complexity without confusing the listener. Great persuaders do not drown people in information. They illuminate what truly matters. To simplify effectively. Remove unnecessary details. Use familiar language. Break ideas into steps. Guide the listener instead of challenging them to decode your meaning. You are not trying to impress. You are trying to express. 3. Structure shapes understanding. A persuasive message has structure, a rhythm, an order of flow. Structure gives the mind something to hold on to. It transforms ideas into a path that the listener can follow. 3 structures are especially powerful. The problem, insight, solution model begin with the issue. Reveal the deeper truth behind it. Then present your answer. The past, present, future timeline show where we were, where we are now, and where we can go next. The 3 pillars method. Group your message into 3 key ideas. The human brain loves triads. They are easy to remember, easy to repeat, and feel complete. Structure is not decoration. Structure is clarity. 4. Use clean, concrete language. Clarity lives in concrete words, words that paint a picture, words your audience can visualize. Instead of saying, improve your performance, say, finish your tasks 1 hour faster each day. Instead of saying, become more confident, say, speak your idea in the first 5 minutes of the meeting. Concrete language lets listeners see the transformation. And when people can see it, they can believe it. 5. The power of pauses. A pause is not emptiness, it is emphasis. It allows your message to breathe. It gives the listener time to absorb, process, and feel the weight of your words. When a speaker rushes, their clarity dissolves. But when they pause with intention, their message becomes memorable. Say the important line. Then let silence carry it deeper. 6. Clarity requires removing ego. Many people speak to sound intelligent. Great communicators speak to be understood. This requires humility. The humility to let go of complicated vocabulary, abstract theories, or long-winded explanations. Clarity is an act of generosity. It is saying, I care about your understanding more than I care about showcasing my knowledge. When ego steps aside, clarity steps forward. 7. The echo effect, repetition that resonates. Repetition is one of the oldest persuasive tools in human history. But the best repetition is subtle, an echo, not an explosion. Restate your key point in different ways. Once through logic, once through story, once through metaphor. Each repetition deepens understanding without feeling redundant. When done well, repetition becomes resonance. The message vibrates in the listener's memory long after you stop speaking. 8. Visual metaphors, making ideas tangible. A single metaphor can create more clarity than a paragraph of technical explanation. Metaphors transform the invisible into the visible. Instead of saying, your habits shape your life, say, your habits are the steering wheel. Your destination depends on where you turn. Metaphors make ideas stick. They turn learning into imagery, and imagery into action. 9. Clarity protects you from misunderstanding. Misunderstanding is the silent enemy of persuasion. It creates resistance, confusion, and doubt. Clarity prevents your message from being twisted or diluted. When your words are precise, your intentions become unmistakable. People know what you mean, what you want, and why it matters. Clarity builds trust, not only in your message, but in you as a communicator. 10. Ending with purpose. A clear message ends with direction. Not vague encouragement, not open-ended musings, but a focused invitation. Clarity always answers. What should I do next? How do I start? What will change if I take this step? A strong ending gives your listener confidence, confidence to move, decide, or change. Part 4. Evidence, action, and the closing art of persuasion. We have traveled far together, from credibility to connection to clarity. Now we step into the fourth pillar, evidence, and then the final pillar that brings persuasion to life, the call to better action. This is the moment where persuasion transforms from understanding into movement, from conversation into change. Let's walk through this last chapter slowly. 1. The fourth pillar, evidence, giving your message weight. Emotion opens the heart. Clarity opens the mind. But evidence is what roots your message in the ground, making it stable, believable, and undeniable. Evidence is the backbone of persuasion. It answers the listener's unspoken question. Why should I trust this claim? A. 3 forms of evidence. There are 3 primary forms of evidence that shape beliefs. Data. Numbers, statistics, research, measurable results. Data gives your message authority. But remember, numbers alone rarely move people. They support, they do not replace, emotion. Testimony. Stories, experiences, witness accounts, expert opinions. Testimony provides humanity. It shows that real people have lived what you describe. Examples. Simple, concrete illustrations that make your point easy to visualize. Examples transform abstraction into reality. A persuasive message often blends all 3, a fact, a story, an example, leaving the listener both convinced and emotionally aligned. B. The credibility of your evidence. Even strong evidence can fail if the listener doubts its source. That is why you must choose evidence that is specific, relevant, unexaggerated, easy to verify, ethically presented. Evidence should clarify, not overwhelm. Illuminate, not intimidate. Too much evidence can be just as damaging as too little. Give only what strengthens understanding, no more. C. Evidence plus emotion equals lasting impact. People decide emotionally, then justify logically. Evidence gives them the justification they need to feel confident in their decision. This is the secret harmony of persuasion. Emotion makes people care. Evidence makes them comfortable. 2. The fifth pillar, the call to better action. The purpose of persuasion is not to win arguments, but to inspire movement. A message without a call to action is like a bridge that ends in midair. People may admire it, but they cannot cross it. A call to action is your invitation for the listener to take a step, not for your benefit, but for their growth, their clarity, their future. Let's explore how to craft a call to action that feels natural, ethical, and compelling. A. A call to action must be clear. Do not leave the listener wondering, so, what now? Tell them exactly what to do, when to do it, and why it matters. Vague encouragement leads to vague results. Clear steps lead to confident movement. B. A call to action must be meaningful. Your final invitation should connect to a deeper value: courage, learning, self-respect, discipline, growth. People follow a call to action when it feels like a step toward a better version of themselves. Do not pressure. Do not manipulate. Simply shine a light on the path ahead. C. A call to action must feel safe. The listener must feel they are choosing freely, without fear, guilt, or force. Ethical persuasion invites. Unethical persuasion traps. Your role is to guide, not to push. 3. Bringing the 5 pillars together. When all 5 pillars unite, credibility, connection, clarity, evidence, and a call to better action, persuasion becomes more than communication. It becomes transformation. Credibility earns trust. Connection earns openness. Clarity earns understanding. Evidence earns belief. Action earns change. This is the complete architecture of influence. It is not a formula. It is a philosophy. A way of speaking and living that uplifts rather than manipulates. 4. The responsibility of influence. As your persuasive power grows, so does your responsibility. Influence is not a weapon. It is not a performance. It is a stewardship. Your words can open doors for others or close them. They can inspire courage or feed fear. They can build bridges or burn them. Use your influence always to elevate. Use it to heal. Use it to guide. Use it to remind people of the strength they already carry inside. If persuasion is an art, then ethics is its frame. 5. The final reflection. Before we close, take one quiet moment and ask yourself, who do I want to become as I persuade others? Not what techniques will I use, but what kind of person will I be? Because, in the end, the most persuasive element of any message is the messenger. Let your character speak as loudly as your words. Let your actions reinforce your arguments. Let your presence embody your message. That is the highest form of persuasion. Thank you, truly, for spending this time with me. Thank you for listening with openness, curiosity, and heart. If this series has given you value, if it has sparked a thought, a question, or a change within you, then I invite you to stay connected with me. Please subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell, and watch the next video in this series, where we continue exploring the skills that shape your mind, your communication, and your future. Your growth matters. Your voice matters. And I am here to walk with you, one insight at a time. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay courageous, and stay true to who you are.